these?
Medicine bags. Wards for defense.
But why would these be hanging in here? Is that from a buck?
Nope. Nothing like anything I've seen before.
Headed to your house full of drugged out freaks?
Antlers is a horror mystery film directed by Scott Cooper and written by Nick Antosca, based on Antosca's short story The Quiet Boy. Set in the sleepy rural town of Cispus Falls, Oregon, the movie follows Kerry Russell's Julia Meadows, an English teacher, and becomes worried about a disturbed and reclusive student, Lucas, played by Jeremy T. Thomas. Noting signs of abuse and as a former victim of abuse herself, Julia tries to protect Lucas but struggles to gain his trust.
What's your dad do?
I gotta go. And don't follow me this time.
Unfortunately, the issues haunting him are far more insidious than anyone could have imagined. Things aren't all that great for Julia either, who confronts her bleak childhood with her brother and sheriff, Paul, played by the terrific Jesse Plemons. Recovering from alcoholism and returning to Cispus Falls after leaving in her teens, Julia struggles with feelings of guilt for abandoning Paul in a home with an abusive parent, much of which influences her choices in the film. Firmly rooted in folklore, this Guillermo del Toro-produced monster movie combines allegorical themes with blood-soaked scares in this dark and intriguing mystery set in the American Northwest. Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and as requested, today we're taking a closer look at the story, production, and the terrifying Wendigo featured in Antlers.
Run, Frank! Run!
The Wendigo is essentially a mythological creature that originated in the Algonquian-speaking indigenous groups of North America. Depicted as a malevolent spirit that manifests itself as a giant, destructive beast with an insatiable hunger, it's seen as an embodiment of greed, brought about by environmental destruction or taboo acts such as cannibalism. The Wendigo is also perceived as a conceptual trait that looms over someone, denoting a pattern of self-defeating greed and overconsumption. In the film, Warren Stokes, the town's previous sheriff, explains the Wendigo folklore about a hunter that becomes lost in the forest during a brutal winter. After spending days without food, they turn to cannibalism. Driven insane by this unspeakable act, he's transformed into a nebulous spirit.
The Wendigo translates to a diabolical wickedness that devours mankind.
Left in this shifting state of insanity and greed, the spirit forever roams the forest, preying on the weak and defenseless. Although it's only hinted in the movie, its appearance is seemingly the result of devastation to the environment caused by the mining operation in Cispus Falls. With the mine preparing to reopen, the Wendigo is unleashed, latching onto the weak-willed Frank Weaver, played by Scott Hayes, who turns in an amazing physical performance.
Daddy's very, very sick. You lock that fucking door. No matter what I do, you don't open that door.
In its purest state, the Wendigo is not a physical creature, but a spirit that infects a vulnerable host. Once it infects a human, it begins to alter their mind and behavior, slowly driving them mad with endless hunger. In the early stages, a host imbued with the Wendigo spirit displays blackened veins and blood, which grow more pronounced as the transformation progresses. Here, the host still retains some of their humanity, but is subject to random bursts of uncontrollable rage.
Daddy, Aiden's very sick.
Stricken with unbearable hunger, the afflicted will consume any meat or protein possible, including dead animals, roadkill, and even other humans. In Frank's case, the transformative process forces him to lock himself and his son Aiden in the attic, while Lucas would find food for them. As the Wendigo grows more powerful, Frank's heart begins to glow with smoldering corruption. Once the spirit is ready, it violently erupts from the body through a host's face. Like a snake shedding its skin, the human remains are left charred and mangled as it's reborn in this final form. In this post-transformation state, the Wendigo is a beastly creature, standing at approximately 12 to 15 feet tall. Although it wears Frank's face as a mask at first, we find that its true face is eyeless, with a receded snout and an unhinged jaw.
What, Lucas?
Its horrific appearance is matched by its lethality. Agile and powerful, it prefers to toy with its victims, before quickly overpowering them with vicious and unrelenting attacks.
It's okay.
While it mostly kills without discrimination, the beast also seems to harbour a sliver of the host's humanity. For example, after Frank's transformation, Lucas is saved from his bully in the woods by the Wendigo. Similarly, towards the end of the film, it attacks and kills the adults protecting Lucas, but at no point does it try and attack him. With that being said, in the long run, this isn't enough to override the Wendigo's core motivation.
Only kill it when it's in its weakened state, and only by extinguishing its beating heart.
In the climax, Julia finds it in the mines and notices the Wendigo feeding on a corpse. After a struggle, she and Lucas are able to take it down, exorcising the heart and forcing the spirit to flee. This is followed by Julia doing the same to Aiden, after explaining that he too cannot be cured of his sickness. Unfortunately, this simply starts the cycle anew, with the spirit escaping the mine and attaching itself to Paul, who lies wounded in the car outside, in a sneaky bit of clever foreshadowing.
Guillermo has an extremely unique perspective on monsters and how to create them, almost unlike anybody else.
Guillermo del Toro announced that he'd be producing Antlers after many discussions with horror film director Scott Cooper. According to Cooper, del Toro took notice of his previous films, 2017's Hostiles and 2013's Out of the Furnace.
I'll meet you at the top of the ridge. Run, girls, run! Let's go, girls!
With the help of Henry Chazon and Nick Antosca, Cooper co-wrote the screenplay, while Del Toro worked on the creature design with Legacy Effects Studio, who worked with him on films like The Shape of Water and Pacific Rim.
I suggested that we erase the eyes because it's like blind rage, and if you give it the teeth of the skull, it seems to be just hungry.
When considering the Wendigo's design, Del Toro wanted to achieve a sense of non-negotiable rage, while presenting a creature that felt naturally off-putting, symmetrical, and ornamental in appearance. To bring it to life, Legacy used a combination of practical and CGI effects, creating full-size remote-controlled replicas, as well as various clay mock-ups and masks.
I thought it was a real challenge and an opportunity to tell a story with my sensibility, which is much more grounded, and Guillermo's, which is much more fantastical, and quite frankly, it's a miracle that any of it works.
While the film was received generally well by critics and moviegoers, Antlers ended its theatrical run with a total of $18 million at the box office, well below forecasted earnings. Despite this, it's an intriguing creature feature that juggles rich mythology with standard monster movie scares, and is a must-see for monster enthusiasts. With that being said, I'd love to know your thoughts about the film, so please share them in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, support the channel on Patreon, come join our regular streams on Twitch, and be part of the public Film Comics Explained Discord server. Links in the About Me and description below. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
D?
Yeah, it's Cornell's.
Tell me this was a train, Jake.
That boy was eaten in half.